What's going on? We have a right to know the truth.
All right, I'm going to level with you all. Most important thing now is that you remain calm. There's no reason to panic. Now, it is true that one of the crew members is ill. Slightly ill. But the other two pilots are just fine. They're at the controls flying the plane, free to pursue a life of religious fulfillment.
I've decided to do some research on the Illuminati. And that's when Freemasonry came up, and I was like, oh, okay. Grandfather's brother, Peter, is a Master Mason, and he told me this. And all of their necklaces.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, very interesting. I mean, this is what we hear a lot. Yeah. People, something triggers a memory. Go ahead.
I was actually living at my perpetrator's house up in the attic. Isn't that interesting?
Wow. Okay. Well, I think there's a good reason that those memories were suppressed, and I think people are going to understand that as we talk about your story. So why don't we kind of get into that a little bit?
Decided that I would meet with my mother. She told me a couple of things that were misleading because she is one of my handlers, of course. That was probably the last phone call that I'll ever have with my mother. I don't know. But she called me up, just huffing and puffing and angry that I'm speaking out. But anyways, I kind of want to get into telling people what I've been through, like in my trauma.
Yeah.
Do you want to switch over to that?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
All of my memories have come back to me now. 5 months, I was able to recover all of the things that happened to me, which is pretty awesome. I was abducted when my mom was out of town on a work trip. My uncle couldn't stop him because he didn't have a gun, but Dieter did have a gun on him, and he whipped it out, and Dieter had on a Nazi hat. And I want to talk to you, too, about where they come from, which is southeast Germany, Coburg, Germany, which is interesting, too.
So your Dieter is from Germany, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, Dieter and Hilmar were born in Coburg, Germany. I got sidetracked.
No, that's okay. That's okay. This is very fascinating because I think in your testimony I heard you say that they were arguing in German, so they, so they have, they're from Germany.
So just to give you background information, like I come from German, and
right.
I know my.
And I'm getting goosebumps over here just because of this information. I mean, it's just that's one of the number one questions we ask, Carly, when somebody talks about satanic ritual abuse, or they have a testimony, or they're wondering if they were. We ask them, is there any German ancestry in your family?
Dieter took me into the garage, which was dark, but his car was in the garage, and it was a champagne gold colored Cadillac with Master Mason license plates, but it also had the Freemason flags, like little flags that like a president would have on his limousine, of Freemason flags on his car. And I guarantee you, if you drove that thing around today, somebody would probably mess your car up because of what people are knowing now about Freemasonry.
You are not, you're giving what you remember, and you're not filling in the blanks and making stuff up. You're saying, hey, this is what I remember, this is what I don't remember. Right. And so, anyway, you blacked out, take it from there.
It was time for, the Freemason experience, I guess. The entire length of this hallway was lined with these, metal cages that you would put animals in. However, every few cages there was a child in it, naked and just crouched. Some of them were crying, please help me. Some of them were just had their head down. Some of them looked like they were emaciated. Some of them looked like they I don't know, maybe they were dead already in the cage. Because, I mean, I know that there are sick people in this world who do things called, or do something called necrophilia. And the first room that I was brought into was this all pink room, like bubblegum pink. And they had a huge black satanic pentagram up on the wall. And I was sat up on some kind of like table, and all of these women dressed completely in black were just rubbing me all over my body, telling me, oh, you're so lucky to be the chosen one. And
bullshit.
There was also a guy there who had a huge, really professional looking camera, all black, and it was sitting up on his shoulder. So I know that there's a video of what happened to me in this Masonic Center somewhere.
Bullshit.
There was a huge, gigantic book on this altar that was facing down the dining table. And I can only assume that this was the Bible. And then they took it off and then placed me on this altar. And that's when they put me down on my stomach and inserted something into my anus, into my rectum, like a stick or something. And I remember like looking out and seeing all of these men just like jeering and laughing and yelling at me while this is happening, and I went deaf.
You know what, man? I'm so sick of this bullshit.
I don't have multiple personality. I don't have dissociative identity disorder. I don't have schizophrenia. That usually occurs when you've experienced trauma over and over and over and over. And this just happened within like a 24-hour period. They formed like two lines on both sides of this long dining table, and they each took turns having their way with me. Now, I get a lot of like questions like, oh, how come you survived this? There's no way you could have lived without getting medical attention. Well, I did receive medical attention there. These people are doctors. They have their own doctors who clean up the kids. So I'll get to that.
It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Global bullshit. I call bullshit bullshit.
It was my grandfather's turn to have his way with me. He did not want to look at me. And then when it was my grandfather's brother's turn, Dieter's turn to have his way with me, he wanted me face up, no blindfolds. The men who were in the tuxedos and all that jazz, they cleared out, and there was a smaller group of men in these, like, I couldn't tell if it was dark brown or dark red, but they were in hooded robes. And one of them had a, like, goat skull mask or a goat skull thing on his head. Excuse me, sorry. And I believe that it was Dieter Franz who was the one killing this little boy. Like he was, I think it was him who was standing over him, and then he proceeded to cut him open in the chest.
Bullshit! Bullshit! Bullshit, 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 bullshit! Bullshit! Bullshit, 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 bullshit! 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 Bull, 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 bull! Shit, 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 shit! Bullshit, 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 bullshit!
I was being put into a some kind of animal carcass, probably a goat or a sheep carcass or something, but it was like the rib cage of this animal was all around me. I could see Dieter like using his hand to cup the blood and like eat the entrails of this boy, and I just remember thinking, this is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life.
Get this bullshit out of here.
And there was a line of guys over behind him, over by the guy wearing the goat skull mask, and they were holding glasses. Like, I think they were ready to collect the blood of this little boy and then pass the cup around so that everybody gets to drink some of the adrenaline-filled blood of this poor kid.
Come on, don't bullshit me.
I know this loses a lot of people at this, but I did witness a demon of Lucifer because all of the men were chanting something. Not in English, but in some other language, but I did hear them say Lucifer quite a bit. People ask me, like, what did it look like? What did this demon look like? Best description that I could tell you that it looks like is if you've ever played the video game Diablo 3, there's a picture of Diablo, and it looks like that.
Bullshit.
It just kind of disappeared, and the lights came back on.
Bullshit.
Just seeing a demon is one of the weirdest things I have ever experienced.
I think your account is
Bullshit.
and I believe that everything you're saying is
Bullshit.
and you've already broke the ground, obviously, in your own testimonies. You've shared this, and as I think a lot of people will agree with me, as I'm listening to you recall these memories, I'm on the edge of my seat, but I'm believing what you're saying because you just can't make up this kind of detail.
Everything that guy just says is bullshit. Thank you.
Of course, a demonic entity would manifest after what they did. They are doing the exact thing that would cause a demon to show up.
Is that all I'm ever gonna get from you guys? Bullshit? Oh, ask a silly question.